Hello everybody and welcome to another video. And I'm getting my first messages. Always perfect timing. And today we're taking the CSS version 1.9 that came out a few days ago, and we'll take this flight service from Dublin over to Geneva. The flight time is 1 hour and 38 minutes, so a relatively short flight. However, I think we are pretty full with the main tank, so yeah, this airplane did not have a large range. I think I've done a 2.5 hour flight with this airplane, and the center tank was pretty much also full. I think it was something like that, or 3 hours. I don't quite remember. But yeah. Anyways, version 1.9, yeah, let's see. There have been a lot of system updates with this airplane, and unfortunately, the biggest issue that I have with this airplane is usability. I do plan on making a series where I do my honest impressions of the airplane, or let's just say it this way, because it generally focuses on the negatives. It's probably going to be a series where I just talk about the things I wish this airplane had, or certain airplanes had, that would make them much better. And this airplane was an inspiration for that series. So if it does happen, this is the airplane that's probably going to start off the series, because there are a couple things in here, and I'll probably mention them here a little bit as well when we start playing around with it. Are just some things that are just so, I don't know, just very user unfriendly, and it just doesn't make sense. No other developer really has these kinds of issues or introduces these issues. And yeah, so these are things like click spots, things like the way the EFB, or you interact with the EFB, certain options not working properly, things like that. And so yeah, we're gonna go ahead and get into it. We're going to start the airplane with cold and dark today. This is the first flight the airplane has taken, and this route, by the way, has been flown in real life. Like I said, all my flights are real life flights, just either historic or possibly present, right? So just keep that in mind. I don't just make up routes. The only thing I make up is the flight number. It's always going to be 222 Alpha. That's just my trademark. So that's the only thing I make up, but the actual flight and the route actually has existed before, so just keep that in mind. Okay, we are. Can we actually walk? Oh, we can walk up the stairs. Can we walk inside the airplane, or do we fall down? We fall down. That's unfortunate. That would have been cool. Anyways, yeah, so welcome to the flight deck. And I do have to say, like, the flight deck is not necessarily bad or anything like that. Right. I think the modeling of the flight deck isn't too bad, but I'm really looking forward to V2 because they've definitely overhauled the entire airplane when it comes to 3D modeling and texturing, or although they didn't show anything about texturing yet, but at least 3D model. And of course, if the 3D model is different, then the texturing also needs to be redone, right? So that's also going to be different. Not to say this is bad or anything like that, right? It's it definitely looks like a classic, and they've done some nice things with it, but you can tell that there's some shortcomings here and there. And the biggest issues I have right now when it comes to usability, for example, is click spots. Like, I could not like use the mouse wheel on this, and if I, for example, if my mouse was up here, I would only select to push the switch up, even though I would want to push it down as well, which means that I'm really restricted in where my mouse needs to be in order to select the switch, which in my opinion makes no sense unless the switch is a 3-position switch. That's the only time where I would say this makes sense. But if it's a 2-position switch, just make it a click spot, and whenever you press it, it just toggles it, right? So don't make these weird directional things. And then for 3-position switches, right, you make the mouse wheel usable as well. So that those two things would just make the usability of these click spots just so much better already. And for people I don't use, for example, ChasePlane, when it comes to like G-force cameras and stuff like that, I don't use those kinds of things because they're too synthetic in my opinion. But for people who use it, I can imagine how frustrating this airplane can be sometimes when you try to click something in the proper direction. Because even I sometimes struggle when you sit here and you have, like, if you look at a certain angle and you have like a switch that's behind the switch, like right here, you're like, okay, am I hitting the right switch? Am I in the right spot? And then you have to find the correct position of the click spot, stuff like that, right? So that kind of gets tricky sometimes. And so just being able to click the button without needing to go in the right direction is very valuable. We're gonna go and start off with the battery. The standby power is guarded. Alternate flaps off and off. The wipers are off. The electric hydraulic pumps off. Gears down 3 green. That is checked. The weather radar panel is off. We just want to verify that these are off, which they are, and that this is set to test for now, which is also true. Not sure why execute is lighting up, or any of these, in fact. So that's fine. And then we can select the ground power to on. Also, I don't think the sounds are the best, but that's fine. And I hope, we'll see here in a second, that the sounds actually work properly. Because something always turns them off. Yeah, I don't know what does it, but something always turns off specific sounds. And that is the miscellaneous sounds and the environmental sounds. I don't know what it does, but it always happens, and it's annoying. Alright. There we go. That's checked. Squibs 1, 2 is also checked. So let's go to the ground ops. And the next thing I want to mention is that no matter, and I know I've done this properly because I checked the documentation. I went into every single configuration file and made sure that my units were set properly, but even though this is set to not override and set to whatever, it's normally blank, it always defaults to pounds. Like, it always goes in the different or in the wrong configuration, which I don't know why. Like last time I had I flew south, or tried flying southwest with this airplane. In the configuration file, I specifically said that units need to be pounds. This was not on, this was off, meaning that it uses the configuration file, and although this was blank, what did it use? It used kilograms. Now in this file, I specifically wrote kilograms, but what did it use? It used pounds. So I don't know if maybe the option in the text file is actually reversed, like there's a bug there that it's reversed and it takes the wrong unit. Or if there's something else underlying that's just broken in this version. I don't know. All I know is that I've had this issue now twice in a row, and I don't know why. That's pretty much what I can say to that. So what I can say is that I don't, like, this is the most obvious unit that you can check, but some of these things I don't know if they actually even work properly. Like, I have no idea. So that's kind of, yeah. Plus the boarding music, oh my goodness, I don't know if you guys ever tried the boarding music. It's literally just a file that or like a program that opens up and just plays music, which means that if you, no matter what view you go, no matter if you go to tower view or whatever, the volume is going to be the exact same. So you're going to hear this music the entire time, and it's so annoying. And I'm like, no, I'm not doing that. So I turned it off, and hopefully it works, because we'll see. I don't know. So the music needs to be better integrated to like a 3D sound system, where it actually plays in the cabin and you can actually hear it behind you, and then when you go out on the outside of the airplane you don't hear it no more, and things like that. Because right now that's a really bad introduction to boarding music. If you're gonna add something like this, in my opinion, do it right. Yeah, that's unfortunate. So, and I'm also scared to use these things because who knows what kind of stuff is in there and how deep it goes. I would prefer somebody like FS the Crew to make something like this for this airplane. But anyways, it's, you know, like, of course it's an option, right? I don't have to use it, so me complaining is pretty much irrelevant. But I don't know. Anyways, The other big thing I don't like is the fact that you cannot manually insert with the keyboard or with a keypad that's on here. You have to like click between the options, especially something like wind direction and wind speed is super annoying, and temperature and QNH like. And the biggest thing that I also have an issue with here is that these weights don't reflect your airplane weights, which means this takeoff calculator and landing calculator is always going to be in kilograms. I've never seen it in pounds, no matter what the airplane setting was. Even if the airplane itself was in pounds, I never saw this go in pounds. Super annoying. The other thing is temperature. No, I thought temperature is fine, but QNH is always in millibars. So if I fly in the US, I always have to do conversions. And it's just annoying. Like, why can I not just change this to inches of mercury here? Or if you're gonna make me do conversions, have an app with conversions. Like, at least do that, but nothing like that. I mean, at the end of the day, I can use Google, right? But still, like, what if I'm a VR user and I don't have Google that easy to my disposal? Plus, if I'm pretty sure CSS is somebody who wants to simulate real life ops as close as possible. Yeah, you're not gonna have Google in your airplane, in your real airplane, like. You're not going to be able to do that, right? So please just make the performance calculators much more user-friendly, because these things are absolutely terrible in my opinion. They get the job done at the end of the day, sure, but the way to use this and how limited you are with like the different unit types, stuff like that, it's not fun. All right, let's go to SimBrief. Let's go ahead and choose this flight. This is our latest flight, flight level 370. And we're gonna go to ground ops, and we're gonna check, do we have, oh yeah, we only have an air start unit, we don't have an air conditioning unit, unfortunately. So that's also something that's missing. And then for the load, I think this also doesn't do it very properly either. We are expecting a passenger count of 85. Okay, this time it did do it, right? 2.5. Okay, because last time it didn't work. So I don't know, fuel 8,600, 8,600, yeah, let's go ahead and go up to 8.7. And oh yeah, this is another big thing. Just clicking like for a millisecond, like really just quick clicking is what you have to do. So if you just click a little bit, like a normal click length, you can see it like it jumps 200 kilos, or it does like 3 clicks or whatever. It's super annoying. And this is also valid for things like scroll wheels here. So if I were to like set in a cruise altitude, sometimes it just, with one click, it sometimes jumps 2. See, I just did one click. I did one click with my mouse, and it jumped 2. And again, it keeps jumping 2. Like, I don't know why it does that. It's super annoying. And like, what if I just want to do like 10 foot? Like that's the whole point of wanting to use the click instead of mouse wheel, is because you want to be precise. But then when you sometimes click, it does 2 clicks or 4 clicks or 3 clicks, right? Like, why? It's also a pretty bad system in my opinion. Plus, I'm pretty sure landing altitude should be able to go into negatives. So, and cabin altitude I believe as well. So I'm not sure. There's probably some simulation limitations there. But yeah, I'm not a biggest fan of all that. Alright, let's check oil quantities and hydraulic quantities. So engine oil and hydraulic quantities, these also never change per airframe. So hopefully in the future they'll make, I think they've said they were going to make this like a configuration file for each livery, so that these things actually do get depleted. I think even in flight they don't get depleted, but I don't remember exactly. Pressure is just under 1000. Normally you would have to check your dispatch graphs if it's under 1000. But I'm not going to do that today. And then we're going to check that the oxygen valve is open. So righty tighty, lefty loosey is what we're going to do here. So to loosen it, we want to turn to the left, and now we should have oxygen available. Alright, let's go to the aft overhead. We're going to select these to nav. On DC goes to align. Check that, alright, and we have 7 minutes per side, which is checked. This airplane is so old it didn't have a voice recorder switch, otherwise I would switch that on. Galley switch comes on, emergency exit lights armed. In this version they finally fixed that the emergency exit lights don't go in the on position when guarding it, because normally it would go in the arm position. That was a problem. That works. And the position lights come to steady. Alright, let's check your speed brake up. or down. The flaps up indication agrees. We'll do a configuration check. That works. That works. Parking brake is set. The pressure is sufficient. And we'll now continue with the EFB. So what are we going to do? We are happy with the technical state of the airplane pretty much. So we're going to go ahead and start loading the airplane here in a moment. First, let's do some other checks. So we're going to go to our charts. We would do anything with the charts we needed to. And then the next thing is performance. So we are in Echo India Delta Whiskey insert 737-500. We're taking runway 28 right. Flaps 5 initially, anti-ice off, bleeds on, MEL off. We have, that's another thing that doesn't change automatically. We have, what engines do we have? We have the 18.5s, okay. Let's check wind direction. We can go to weather here, and we can request weather. Okay, 290 at 21. See, now having to click this 21 times just to get the wind, that's just, nah. Proof climb, we're going to go normal, runway condition dry, temperature is 51013. 5 and 1013. And that means we're just checking our performance limiting takeoff weight is 52.5. What are we expecting today? We're expecting 50.3. Yeah, okay, that's fine. So that's checked. We are able to take off with flap 5 today, and that's all good to go as well. And then later on, we're going to insert our actual takeoff weight. So this is our maximum takeoff weight. So this is the structural limit. This airplane is only allowed to take off with 60.554. But our performance limiting weight with all the conditions that we've inserted here is going to be 52.5 approximately today. But we're going to be below that. We're at 50.4 today, so that's over 2 tons lower approximately. So we'll see what our actual weights later will give us as well. I'm going to go ahead and set the QNH on our altimeters as well, which is set and done. The aircraft documents are on board. The flight deck access system you can kind of test here, but not really. Normally it would also involve the keypad checks, but the keypad is not simulated. So what we're just going to do is we're going to select this to norm. I'm going to go ahead and open the door and put it, put the, what do you call it? The, I keep forgetting. I guess the door stopper is what it's called, maybe. That's pretty simple simplification of the word probably. But I like that little effect. I do like that actually, although planes these days don't need that. But I'm sure the 737 Classic still had like a nice old system like that, which I don't mind playing around with. Cool. All right, let's go ahead and go to the aft overhead. So the first officer is going to do his aft overhead scans. That goes off. That's checked. The animation is pretty low. Like you can barely see it shake. I don't know. You can see it shake at least, right? That's fine. But yeah, I don't know. I shouldn't hear nothing good. Also, when you try to turn off the PMCs, nothing happens. Like the light still stays on, so that's also something. And we can turn on the CDSS as well. All right, recall. Checked, everything looks good. We're gonna go ahead and cancel that, and then we would check the circuit breakers not simulated. I think they said they want to, but who knows. And then go over here. This is something that surprised me that's not simulated, is the manual gear extension. Does not seem to be simulated. Something for, I mean, I was expecting CSS because they said they're really trying to go for the highest simulation quality they can. I'm surprised this isn't simulated. But to be fair, PMDG for many years hasn't simulated this either. So I'm not blaming them too hard here. So with that, we are pretty much ready to start loading the airplane. So let's go ahead and do that. Unfortunately, GSX doesn't really work in a sense that it loads this kind of stuff. I'm pretty sure it's not compatible yet with that kind of stuff. So what you need to do is I need to load real time here, and then we can start. We can also request GSX to start boarding like on the side. So you also have the animations, right? Alright, let's continue with the FMC. So the aircraft type is checked, engine ratings checked, ARIC data is up to date. And then what we need to do is we need to insert our ref airport and check our gate. We're at 311L.
Passenger's bus is coming.
If it works, it does, and then copy this into the set IRS position. Wonderful. Then we're gonna go to Geneva. In fact, now that SimBrief is integrated, you can just simply copy your origin, put in the destination, and put in the company route, and it will load it for you. But I'm not sure why it's not putting it in here. Oh, now it is. Okay, okay. It just takes a little while. That's fine. That's cool. And then we are Shamrock 222 Alpha. Let's go to departure. Insert runway 28 right. And of course, I'm going to show you guys the EFP or my iPad. If I get it to load. Cool. Or not cool. Alright. So the pest. The Pazit to Juliet. Or to it right. Go to route. Arrivals. Selecting LS22. We have the Luzar to Romeo. And transition. Let's see. Not sure. No transition, route, activate, execute changes. Go to performance init, R0 fuel weight. I should be able to get that here in a momentarily, but let's go ahead and do it through here. So 0 fuel weight is 52.1. With a constant X of 6, and in this version I guess it is required to insert the reserves as well. So let's go ahead and do that in order to calculate the fuel stuff, the R predictions, which is going to be 2.6. Let's insert that as well. Our cruise level is going to be 370. We're going to execute here in a moment. First we're going to check all the wind data. So let's go to the top of cruise. There it is, 315.75. And our ISA deviation is, looks like plus 14. But we're going to go minus 43 like this. Execute plus 16. That's checked. Alright, so with that done, we're going to go to Likes page and we would insert any wind data here, but that's not simulated. So if you go to any of these pages and you try to insert winds, that's not working yet. Unless I'm missing something. The way I would insert it is just as an example, right? I would put in, let's say 25020, insert it here, but it's not doing anything. So, yeah. Alright, and then we just go along the route. So let's go climb, cruise level 350, we have our first restriction here. Target speed restriction is checked, and that looks good. Cruise page. Same thing, no steps today. That's good as well. And the destination for us is not yet relevant. Go to progress page. So we're just moving along here. Progress page. We're now checking our distance. And now this is something that's also a bug that I've noticed, is that it jumps like this. There's 1 and 2. It also seems to take in any manual points into consideration in its distance calculation, which it shouldn't do. You can see our ground distance is 752. In this case, it's correct, so that's good. Expecting a fuel of 3.8 extra. So if we check our flight plan, that should be pretty close as well. Okay, it says 4.4. So yeah, we'll see what happens when we get in flight, but this should be pretty close. Preferably above what the OFP says. Alright, we're going to go to fix and we can insert some fixes. So in case we need to return, or in fact it's not even about the return, we're going to go ahead and go to our charts and we're going to go ahead and choose runway 8 right ILS. And then we're going to take the identifier, India November Delta Romeo, insert that here, and then we're going to go 278 at 25 miles and insert that there. Then we should be able to copy this. Okay, normally it would copy the fix and the radial. Oh, that's interesting. Okay, I've never had that before. I don't know if that's correct. But anyways, let's go ahead and go back 278.25. Let's go 278.25. I'm not sure if custom waypoints work. Invalid entry. Okay. Potentially not. At least not in the fixed info page. We don't have a route 2. This is a very, very old software standard. I think U5 it is. So it doesn't have route 2 yet. In fact, the PMGG simulation that that was being simulated, I think it was U10.8, also didn't have route 2 yet. So now they're simulating, I think U13, I think it was. Don't quote me on that. I don't know exactly. All right, with that, we're pretty much done. So we're gonna go back to the init ref page, have this up, and then we're gonna go ahead and continue with the overhead scan. So all these lights are checked. Your damper coming on. Make sure that the extinguishes is checked. That's good. Crossfeed valve. Back in the days, there were some airlines that did check this. So let's go and do that. So they just checked that the valve actually works. Yep, looks good. Fuel pumps can stay off. Okay, this all looks good here as well. This is all normal. Wonderful. Seatbelts. No smoking. Auto seatbelts. Are we still refueling? I'm guessing so. No, we're not. Okay. Seatbelts can come on. There. Window heat. Everything else checks out. Cruise level 370 is checked. Our cabin altitude is going to be 8,000. Is set, and our landing altitude is going to be, go to legs page, previous, so 1,423 minus 50, although I don't know, it is possible that U5 does not actually add the 50 to it. Oh wait, I just realized I had the thing up, but that's okay. Let's go and check our elevation here in Geneva. Not here in Geneva, but in Geneva when we get there is 1365. Yeah, okay, so it does add the 50 to it. Interesting. So what we're gonna do is we're gonna insert 1350 in here. The one, or 1360, sorry, 1360 in the landing elevation. Let's check to ground for now. Auto. Everything else looks good here. Looks wonderful. Alright, first officer scan. We're going to go down here. Oxygen test. Works 100%. That's really all you can test at the moment. I think the ground proximity test doesn't work. We can try though. Yeah, I don't see anything. Date is the 2026 25th, should be, yeah, 25th at 3, yep, that's good. Vertical speed is checked. What we're going to do here is we're going to set our minimums. This is also something I wish was an option for usability or friendliness. Usability friendliness is the syncing between the different altimeters as well as minimums. That would be pretty useful. So we're going to put it right here. So that at 1,000 feet, once we reach 1,000 feet, we're going to do our accelerations and our thrust reduction. I don't think there's an NADP, although I'm going to go ahead and double check that. And then we're going to go ahead and apply the NADP if we needed to. Just give me 1 second. Oh, there it is. NADP 2. Okay, so it is V2, so at 800 feet while maintaining positive rate of climb, bodily speed reducing. Okay, so at 800 feet even. And then at 3,000 feet we transition. Okay. So, we need to keep that in mind. So here you normally put in your acceleration altitude. So this is actually the perfect spot to put it because we're gonna expect this altitude plus 3,000 feet is when we're gonna accelerate. Our thrust reduction today is gonna be at 800 feet, AGL. So we would technically be at around here. But there's also something we're gonna insert here most likely, so that's gonna be fine. This is still reset, that's checked. 1, 2. Everything else looks good here. This is all checked. Set to RTO. These are all in. Flags are checked. Alright, let's go continue down here. 122.8, 121.5 is checked. Now in case we need to return. In fact, we're not going to use a return. I keep saying that, but we're not going to use a return. Runway 28 right. We're going to insert the ILS, which is 110.5 or 15 actually. There we go. And the rest checks out. This is nothing we can do. This is nothing we can do. Then we're going to continue a cargo test. Looking good. Squawk 2000. We could do a TGAS test. Now, something I'm very interested about here is that this is an amber. I would expect this to be red and this to be amber. Not sure if this is really right. Maybe it was back in the day. I have no idea. What we are going to do is we're going to reset this to -20. We're going to set up anything we want here. ECAS traffic is on. Airport data. And this will keep just blank for now. It's fine. And now the last thing the first officer would do is also set the courses, which is 278. So let's go and set 278. Wonderful. Is GSX loading even? Oh, does it actually need our input? Okay, give me 1 sec. Doors open. Yep, now it is. Okay, so you do need to worry about doors. Interesting. Good to know. That means we've now gotten a little extra time. Alright, Captain's Flow. Light test. Looks good. My selector on first, then first officers. Our initial heading is 278 as well. And our initial climb looks like it's going to be flight level 9 or 0. Let's go ahead and insert that as well. We're going to go 9 or 0 plus 100. Yep, that's checked. And then we'll set our side up from -20. Traffic. We're going to just set data. And then there we go. Perfect. With that, we're pretty much done. We can do the pre-flight checklist. So let's go here. Checklist. Oxygen tested. 100% instrument transfer switch as normal. Window heat on. Pressurization mode selector auto. Flight instruments heading 141, 141. Altimeters 1013, 1013 set within 35. Whoa, not within 35 feet. What's going on here? And that's more like it. I think one more setting up. Interesting. And that means this one is also incorrect. Good thing that we checked. Alright. Parking brake is set. Industrial levers are cut off. Pre-flight checklist is completed. Alright, so we'll wait for boarding to complete and then we'll continue with the load sheet stuff. Alright, so I just got the final load sheet, which means we can insert some values. Let's go to load. Our actual weight is 52.1. It's checked. Everything else checks out. Let's go to takeoff. And let's go to performance. Our actual takeoff weight today is expected to be 50.4. 50. Out there. Now I'm not sure how you can like change the last values. That's also something why I would recommend having some kind of keyboard insertion here. That's just how it's going to be. And so we got, with our actual takeoff weight, we can do a temperature. So assume temperature of 28 degrees, and these are our V speeds. So let's go ahead and insert those. So we have an outside air temperature of 5 degrees, I believe it was. That's 5 degrees. And then an assumed temperature of 28. Let's put in 28. Our V speeds are 32, 32, 39. We will insert 139 in here. We'll select auto throttle to arm. And let's go ahead and close the cockpit door. We're also going to set our takeoff speeds. Was this the correct click spot, or is the left one the correct click spot? It never seems to really do it. And now it's setting it. So those are our takeoff speeds. So 80 knots, V1, V2, VR. V1, VR, V2. And then that should be the V2 plus 15, and these should be the flaps up speeds. Good. Now there should be a second page of this, like we said, but there is nothing there. Okay. We expect to do our thrust reduction ourselves at 800 feet, which is, or AGL, and that should be around 1,000 feet. So really around the 1,000 foot mark here. That's when we can expect to go to climb thrust. We'll set level change. And then we'll accelerate to V2 plus 15. We'll continue our climb to 3,000 feet above ground, and then we'll accelerate to clean up the airplane as necessary. We have a speed restriction of 210 knots for the first waypoints, but then we can accelerate without an issue. Okay. So I am happy with that. I'm going to go ahead and start the APU. And we're going to go ahead and close some doors we no longer need. APU is available. Go and put it on bus. And we're going to start the 3-minute clock. So for the air conditioning, and we can go ahead and disconnect GPU as well as the chocks. Let's go ahead and request pushback. Now,
hello Captain, we are ready for pushback.
Normally we would set system A to off and system B to on. If the lockout pin was not installed, but I believe they do simulate that, so we're able to select all on. Our trim for today is 4 units exactly. Let's go ahead and make sure to set 4 units. There we go. And we'll do the before start checklist, which we can also do via this virtual checklist that we have here. There it is. So, fuel, flight deck door closed and locked. Fuel, we have 8,650 kilograms, which is checked and balanced. Passenger sides are on, windows are locked. MCP v1.9 heading 278, altitude 9000, flight level 900. Takeoff speed is v1.1321321339er. CDO pre-flight is completed. Rudder and aileron trim free and 0. Time seen takeoff briefing completed. Anti-collision light is on. Before start checklist is completed. So, the nose to the right, tail left,
Release parking brakes, please.
and we shall do so.
Commencing push. All engines clear. Start at will.
That's an interesting sound, to say the least. Alright, starting number 2, we have sufficient pressure. Weird, it's also using rudder. That's interesting. Never seen that happen before. Does it even want to do that? I knew GSX wouldn't be able to handle this gate. It's typical. Oh, whatever. I'm just gonna accept it for now. And starting 1.
Start.
I don't know in what world we would be pushed back like this. I bet whoever made the profile meant to make it out into a tug, so you would push back here and then get tugged this way. This is strange. I would not expect to be able to just turn around like this. But whatever. We're gonna do it anyways, because we have to. It does not start it. Stop here, complete the pushback.
Unlocking gear.
Alright, engines are started. Generators look good. Anti-ice is not required. We'll take flaps 5, please. Alright. Pull up. Pull down. Pull left. Pull right. Rudder. Pull left. End signals given. Pendants in the hand. Pull right. And flight control check complete. Thank you, ma'am. Before taxi checklist, generators on, pitot heat on, anti-ice is off, isolation valve, auto engine start switches, continuous recall. Checked. Auto brake RTO, engine start levers, auto 10 flight controls checked, ground equipment is clear. Before taxi checklist completed. So, let's go ahead and get out of here. We're already rolling. This airplane is very stuttery. If the video comes out stuttery, it's because the sim is also stuttery. Now, before I flew, when I flew this airplane prior to 1.9, I'd never flown it in 1.9, by the way, so I have no idea. But the taxi behavior was really strange in this airplane. I'm really curious if they've actually done, like, I don't remember what the changelog was, but I do remember it being very saturated when it comes to system bugs. And not a whole lot of mention of like flight model and stuff, if I remember correctly. So I don't know if they've done something with the taxi behavior, so we'll see. But like I said, it was incredibly strange and unrealistic in here. So are we accelerating currently? The ground speed of 4. Not really accelerating anymore. So, a little bit, okay. Alright, so before takeoff checklist, if I can get the checklist out. We'll clear the lineup as well. Let's go ahead and get the lights ready. So before takeoff flaps, 5 green lights, stabilizer trim 4 units set. Before takeoff check is completed. Alright, cam crew seats for departure. But yeah, I don't know what happens. Now the FPS is starting to come back, but I couldn't tell you why. During the taxi, I went down to 27 FPS the entire time, which I don't know, I can't explain why. But it's still really stuttery. We'll stop right here. Alright, so we're clear for takeoff. Fixed landing lights coming on. Initially 40% we'll try to reach. Since we don't have a needle to show us where we're actually setting the thrusts, it's kind of difficult to do. And we actually have to press the button here because I don't think, oh they do. They have a quick, okay, that should work. Let's try it. Let's go 40%, try to get 40%. Alright. Stable. And toga. Any knots? And the airplane still auto rotates, which is an issue I've always had as well. That's still a bug. You're up. Alright, LNAV, VNAV. Command A. Ops 1. And flaps up. Alright, after takeoff checklist, engine bleeds on, packs auto, landing gear up and off, flaps up, no lights. After takeoff check is completed. Yeah, I don't know how to feel about this airplane. This airplane flies interestingly. I also don't like that it auto rotates. And it feels just really stuttery, probably because all the gauges are very stuttery as well. But it just is really stuttery for one. And it also just feels extra stuttery because all these are really stuttery as well. So it's hard to judge the airplane, honestly, because it's just so, you don't know what you're dealing with. You don't know if you're dealing with a bad performance, or you don't know if you're dealing with something more significant. Alright, we're cleared to continue. Execute. So yeah, I don't know how to judge this airplane, honestly. when it comes to flying. It just flies really floppy in my opinion, not very stable. And the fact that it just all looks stuttery and that's all like half a frame feels like you just don't know how to really fly this airplane properly. But I'm sure it's something to get used to. Alright, so let's start setting up for the descent. And we're going to go ahead and do that by getting some weather first. So let's go to weather. Let's request winds or weather one more time here. Alright, so 230 to 17. Minor rain. UNH 1009er. I'm going to go and pre-select 1009er on my standby altimeter. Like so. Recall is checked. And we're going to go ahead and get to the landing performance. So, performance, landing. This is not checked, so Lima, Sierra, Golf, Golf. Done. Runway 22, flaps 30 off, although broken 5,700. Yeah, it'll be off, bleeds on, MEL off, 18.5, 230, 17. Condition will be wet or good. Temperature 14. UNH 1009er. So our performance limiting landing weight is 49,895. Nice landing weight of 49,895, so we shouldn't have any issues there. Our actual landing weight, let's see, is 5.2 plus our 0 fuel weight, which was, one second. I mean, I can take the performance page, but I've got it here. Okay, never mind, I have to check the interref page. Performance, so that is 47.6, 47.3. Yeah, we're well below, so we should be good for landing as well. Now, unfortunately, also something I don't like, no kinds of landing distance calculations with auto brake and stuff like that, so hopefully that comes in the future, that we can plan that as well. Alright, runway can stay, so we are sticking with runway 22 ILS, which we shall copy and insert in here, and then we're going to go ahead and do 15 and 20. Descent page, go to forecast, and transition level is definitely not 18,000. Let me just check the charts real quick. It's gonna be around 8,000 feet. Nope, not 80. 8,000. Station is -1, QNH is 1009er. Execute. Wonderful. Progress page, legs page, nothing we need there as well. Everything looks good here. Fixed information page is also set. Then we're going to go and set our landing data. This is, I believe, the left one. Or of course we need to also insert our landing slots. Okay, this is confusing. Normally it tells you exactly what each does, but it apparently doesn't do it very well. Is what I'm noticing right now. Yeah, I have no idea why it's not doing it. Also, what I'm noticing is what the heck is going on here? Are we already at Geneva? What the hell is this airplane doing? Oh my god, so you're telling me that it thought the top of... Wait, when does it think it's the top of descent? 200 miles, but we're already at Geneva. Oh my goodness, so it really does take the manual, vectored point. That's so stupid. Oh my goodness, I'm glad I got this on video. That is so stupid. Okay, that's a big bug. There's no way the real unit does this either. No way. And what is this? Why is it killing itself like that? If we were to put PTOL and an inbound course of, what is it? 223? Which, oh, you can't even, that's not even simulated either. Okay, interesting. Let's just execute that. Oh, and it just removes it then. Cool. Yeah, I don't know what this airplane is doing. This is embarrassing, honestly. Now it's turning strangely because it's LNAV, but I don't see anything going on here. What the heck is it doing? Let's first of all, let's turn down this. It's way too bright. Alright, let's go to plan mode. So okay. What we're gonna do is we're gonna put weather on this side and we're gonna put terrain on this side. But what in the heck is it doing? Wow, crazy. Alright, minimums is gonna be, we'll do 200 feet radio, so we're gonna go put 200 feet in here. And when I say that's embarrassing, I'm embarrassed for the airplane, not for myself, because obviously the airplane should have not calculated the vectored into its distance. And its VNAV calculation. Pretty sure the real unit also didn't do that, because that would be really catastrophic. So, our minimums is 1,565, so we're going to put this at 565. So we'll do it at 560, around there. And we'll do the descent checklist. So, pressurization, cap altitude 8,000 feet, landing altitude set as well, 1,260. Recall check auto brake level 2. Landing data ref is 130. Minimums 1,565 feet set. Approach briefing completed. Descent checklist completed. Landing checklist. Engine starts with its continuous speed brake arm. Landing gear down. 3 green. Flaps. 30 green light. Landing checklist completed. I just have to see how I disconnect and reconnect the auto throttle. Okay, that's how that works. That's good. And autopilot. Doesn't seem to work, so I gotta do it from here. Okay.
500.
This airplane does handle very strangely, I think. Very wobbly.
$100. 50, 40, 30, 20, 10.
And the nose loves staying in the air. $60 knots, a recital. Auto disarm, reverse stowed. We'll take the next exit to the left.
The boarding requested.
Alright, parking checklist. Or shutdown checklist in this case. Fuel pumps are off, fuel heat off, hydraulic panel set, flaps up, parking brake is set, engine start levers cut off, weather radar is off. We can release the parking brake because we have the chocks now in. Yeah, it's gonna not be happy. GSX is not gonna be happy with us, but that's fine. And no jetway operation here. Interesting. Why is that?
Set parking brakes to request ground services.
Thank you guys for watching. Hope you guys enjoyed. And we'll see you all in the next one. Again, this airplane is very, I don't know, strange. It definitely still needs some updates. And the flying is really strange. The ground physics is strange. It's very performance heavy, even on my system, and very stuttery. It's just got the usability on the EFB as well as like the cockpit interaction is just really strange as well. It's just, I don't know, it's not very well thought out, I think. And hopefully V2 will do everything justice. Because I really like the 737 classic airplanes. Really big fan of them. But yeah, it's a bit of a shame so far. But anyways, thank you guys for watching. Hope you guys enjoyed it, and we'll see you all in the next one. Until then, have yourselves a wonderful rest of the day, and peace.